Hello, and welcome to a very special video for Farewell to the Waterbury Branch. Starting today, July 20th, 2026, Connecticut is suspending rail service on the branch so that all 6 stations between Derby-Shelton and Waterbury can be rebuilt with longer, higher, and more accessible platforms. Our first stop today is Derby-Shelton. Derby-Shelton still offers the lower branch's clearest feeling of a traditional depot. CTDOT says the original station building, built by the New Haven Railroad, remains in place, though it has been long closed to passengers. Derby Historical Society places the earlier East Derby passenger and freight station in 1849, and by 1957 recorded Derby-Shelton as the Lower Valley's last operating passenger station after Ansonia's flood destruction. That makes Derby-Shelton the right place to begin. Just south of Derby-Shelton is the Derby Y, occasionally used by the Houstonic Railroad. Ansonia presents a different chapter. Officially, today's station is a minimal bus shelter arrangement near downtown and the river. Historically, the town was known as the Copper City, a place of metalworking and factory employment. Derby Historical Society records that Ansonia's passenger station was destroyed in the August 1955 flood and that the railroad announced the following February it would not rebuild the full station structure. In other words, what riders say goodbye to here is already a post-disaster simplification of something older and grander. Seymour's historical trail is usually specific. Derby Historical Society states that the original Seymour station dates to 1849, and later noted the demolition of the old freight depot that had been the original Seymour station site. It also recorded a 1906 passenger train derailment just south of the station. CTDOT, by contrast, describes the modern pre-rebuild stop in practical terms: low platform, enclosed waiting structure, limited amenities. The Waterbury Branch is especially unique because from Derby-Shelton to Nagatuck, all stations are low level, which requires the conductor to open the hatch on the Bombardier Shoreliner cars in order to allow customers to enter and exit the train. There is only 2 other locations on Metro North property that still does this today. It is Manitou and Appalachian Trail. Unfortunately, nobody exited at this station while this video was being made. However, you could see the conductor opening the trap and then closing it before departing. Beacon Falls is the quietest station on the branch, and that is part of its value. CTDOT describes it as a small, low-level platform with parking and limited amenities, disconnected from downtown across the Nagatuck River. Connecticut history places the town's economic story in water power, mills, and later rubber manufacturing. There may be less surviving depot grandeur here than Nagatuck or at Waterbury, but the branch would be incomplete, and the farewell dishonest without the smallest stop in the sequence. Nagatuck returns the film to major architecture. The National Register documentation identifies the station on Water Street as a Spanish colonial revival design by Henry Bacon, created in 1908 and completed in 1910. Connecticut history notes that the station now houses the Nagatuck Historical Society Museum, which means the building is not only a preserved shell, but also an active keeper of local memory. At the same time, CTDOT is relocating passenger operations about 3/10 of a mile south, turning the new station into a downtown redevelopment anchor. Few places on the branch show the contrast between preservation and reinvention more clearly. And we now arrive at our final station stop, Waterbury. Then the branch reaches Waterbury, and the scale changes. Rail service reached Waterbury with the line's 1849 opening, but the Union Station standing here now was built in 1909. The National Register calls it a landmark by McKim, Mead, and White in the Second Renaissance Revival style, distinguished by its monumental acres and a Siena-inspired tower. Waterbury's official records say the city was founded in 1674 and became a city in 1853. Connecticut history says it was named for its waterways. The city still publicly embraces its legacy as the Brass City. The railroad fit that civic ambition. The station was not just a stop, it was an announcement that the Waterbury was prosperous, connected, and architecturally ambitious. CTDOT now says the station building will once again include a passenger waiting room, reconnecting riders with a building they have long stood beside but rarely entered. Across the station is Waterbury Yard, not used by Metro North, but is being rebuilt by the Nagatuck Railroad for freight operations. The reconstruction program itself has a story. CTDOT's November 2024 public meeting material described a roughly 106 million five-station and waiting room package. The Nagatuck station groundbreaking coverage in July 2025 placed that work within a broader 140 million statewide program. By May 2026, the governor's office assigned the active six-station modernization effort as a 193 million branch-wide initiative running from 2025 to 2028. What changed was scale and phase, not intent. High-level platforms, ADA access, stronger passenger amenities, and better local connections. So what exactly are we saying goodbye to? Low platforms, short canopies, shelter-only waiting areas, and most importantly, the original Waterbury Branch. A branch where some of the deepest history survived in fragments rather than as a complete museum piece. But also this, a chain of towns still linked by the same Valley Railroad that opened in 1849. Derby-Shelton, Ansonia, Seymour, Beacon Falls, Nagatuck, and Waterbury. Each station has a different scale, a different loss, a different architectural memory. Together, they form one of Connecticut's most revealing commuter branches, a line that still carries the outlines of industry, flood, decline, endurance, and renewal. Farewell to the Waterbury Branch as it was, not farewell to the branch itself. See you back in May 2027.